If you can write a great paragraph, you can be an absolutely amazing writer. And I want to show you how to write an excellent paragraph. At the end of the day, a paragraph is just going from point A to point B. And if the paragraph you're writing is in the middle of a text, then when you go from point A, you're picking up from the last paragraph's point B, and then your point B is going to lead into the point A of the next paragraph. Now, here's the way that I think about a paragraph. When we are writing, and there are different goals that we may try to achieve through writing it. We could be telling a story, we could be describing something, we could be explaining something, or we could be making an argument. At the end of the day, when we write, we're giving information, and these pieces of information, they connect together and they create an understanding of something. They help us see something, whether it be why something is true, whether it be a story, whether it be an explanation, whether it be what something is. So these pieces of information, and there are different levels to this information. There are paragraphs, that's what we're talking about here. There are also sentences. So when it comes to your paragraph, your point A and your point B, which is the first paragraph, the first sentence and the last sentence, they should be holding all the other sentence together. So they are kind of a container. So essentially there's point A and there's point B, and there is a whole bunch of stuff in between. But essentially you go from point A and it's making a statement, it's saying something, and then you're adding information to it. And by going from one statement to the other, we further our understanding by knowing all these pieces. And then when we get to point B, we're just kind of taking a pause and we're kind of stopping and smelling the roses. And then we're moving to another point, which is point A in the next paragraph. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read you one paragraph from a book that I'm working on. It's a book on politics and personal development. So I'm going to read you a paragraph, which is a great example of me picking up from the last paragraph's point and moving it forward and stopping at the end. So, meanwhile, though, we're more politically and culturally divided than we ever have. Our divisions are bitter and our conflicts sometimes bloody. We mostly live in a state of Cold War with our political opponents, but the names we call each other resound in the halls of the societal prison we inhabit. And it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. What happens when we're polarized? We make poor political decisions, all hell breaks loose in the government, and we all pay the price collectively. It isn't confusing. Conservatives and progressives alike feel as though the world is headed in the wrong direction. Conservatives and progressives alike feel insecure about the current state of politics. The most reasonable among them are utterly terrified because they see their fellows moving closer and closer to the extremes. Why? Because ultimately they both want the same thing. They merely disagree on how it's achieved. So that's one paragraph. You see that the first statement that we're making is that we're more politically and culturally divided than ever before. And then we're making another statement at the end that we both want the same thing, the two political camps, and that we merely disagree on, how it's achieved. And so then in the next paragraph, I move on to another point. There's another point A, and then there's another point B, and everything in between is simply there to connect those two statements. And so you can think about it this way. I'm making one statement at the beginning, one statement at the end. And so it makes it logical. And so what I'm really giving the reader are these two statements. But I need to walk them through the logic of how I go from one place to the other. And so by having all these sentences, by walking people through that logic, it's a lot easier to understand why am I making these statements. But if we wanted to, we could extract the main statements from a text, provided that it's well written, that it's very structured. We could extract these statements remove a lot of the meat and still understand. And so the person who is familiar with the topic would understand. For a lot of people, it wouldn't, because they need more information. That's why we write entire paragraphs. But at the end of the day, there's point A, there's point B, there's another point A, there's another point B. And all we do is move from one to the other, giving information, and so that these statements actually make sense for the reader. So this is how you write a paragraph, and this is how you use paragraphs to make your writing extremely compelling and become a more successful person and become a better communicator.